and good evening. So we are live, and you know something, I had come on the page on the YouTube channel, and immediately I saw people raving on the comment section. I hadn't even gone live. This is really pretty very much exciting. Then I called the governor and I said to him, it's looking like we are a celebrity. In fact, I just made that call now. Okay, so yes, we're streaming in the same house, but he's in a different place. His birthday is on Sunday. I spoke with him and he agreed to do this. Let me tell you a little bit background of even being able to be here. My team member, Precious, had said to me, "Oh, it's the governor's birthday on Sunday. Can we do something for TIP?" And I was like, "Huh?" And she said to me, "I know he's not going to come." Then I said, "We will try. Let's not just, put everything out and say, oh no, he's not going to come and all of that." Then I make that call and I say, also, boss, are you going to be able to come live with me so that we will fry you like plantain, like the parents in the inner circle will say. So, and then he said, "Oh, I don't know if I have a meeting on that day. I'm going to find out." And then the next day he tells me, "I think it's doable. I would like to actually come live, talk about marriage, relationships, and all of that." One of the things that you need to know about the governor is that he is a professional. I've seen him succeed in it, not because he's my husband. By the way, of course, you know that he's my husband. So, and I have seen lives transformed. A lot of the times people come to me and, we see some movies and we see marriage counselors whose marriages aren't working. So one of those days I said to him, "Why is it that I see that you're a different kind of marriage counselor? Though your aim at all times is to make your marriage thrive?" And he said to me, "It's because a lot of people who counsel, who coach, even in the parent coaching circle, are not intentional in doing whatever it is that they have to do." So yes, you're a coach. Yes, you're a counselor. Yes, you are whoever, but you're not practicing what you're preaching. It's not the same. So it's never going to have the kind of result that you will want. We've been married for 12 years, and when people say marriage is not bliss, I beg to disagree. You can actually work it out to that point. So you might want to. People have come to me to ask if you followed our podcast. We're on a podcast called The Relationship Bite with Wendy Ologe. And if you followed our podcast, you will have seen that he was the very first person that I interviewed. And, a lot of people have come back to me to ask questions, to say things. And truthfully, I would tell you for free, I honestly didn't have the answers that they were asking of me. And believe you me, ask me anything on parenting. You can fry me, as in I will be there for you to fry me. And even if I'm sleeping, will be good and I will answer you. But all your questions about marriage, truth is, I don't have answers for them. So we decided to bring the governor here so that you can have this Q&A session with him. So you can ask him whatever, right? Whatever it is that you want to know, you want to learn about marriage. Without so much longer than this, I would like to say that you are meeting someone who is also my coach, the biggest coach that I've ever had. A lot of people say, "Oh, you've done so well." But if you know me, you will know how laid back that I am. You will not say that. This is that man that have. So when you see him, just prostrate, right? If you've seen a Wendy Ologe, it's because there is a Kunle Ologe. That's the word, right? And for all the good works that you have seen that I have ever done, it is because this man has said to me, "The world needs you." Even when I couldn't believe in whatever it is that I'm doing, he stands up and he says, "What are you saying? Are you not the coach? Are you not the one that knows everything?" And all of that. And sometimes he says it to me and I laugh. So today, we're welcoming the founder of the Marriage Steel Academy. Kunle Ologe wears many caps. He's my husband. That is the first thing. And I like to refer to him as a God. You all know that I call him the governor. And he's a father to 3 children, 1 foster daughter, 2 children, a set of twins, biological children. He's a church boy. He likes to say that a lot. He's a deacon in church, and he doesn't miss it when he says that. And he's also been in the financial industry for years now. So he's also in that angle doing a lot as well. He's also the co-founder of Smart Office, which we co-founded together. And what last thing? Did I say that he's married to me? That's the best profile that I have. And I like it a lot. Every time I tell him, I like to say it a lot, that I'm married to you, you know. When people say, oh, your husband is nice, oh, he's this, I say, the best part of it is that he's mine. All right. So we're going to welcome the governor into the studio right now. So that birthday is on Sunday. Please don't start that happy birthday here. I'm going to get jealous, please. That birthday is still coming up on Sunday. Allow us to have this Q&A in peace. All right. So I'm taking the governor here. Thank you so much for doing this now. We don't take it for granted. We appreciate you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Can I be heard?
Yes. Yes, boss.
All right. All right. Good evening, everybody. It's lovely to be here. Thank you very much, my yellow wife, like people always say. I'm really every time I look at my wife, I get excited again, knowing how much she has put into what she's doing now, where she's coming from, and where she's going. And I'm here proud to say that I am the husband of Wendy Ologe. So good evening, everybody. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much, sir. So this class is going to take a question and answer way forum. All right. And when I put out this ad, you don't want to know how many questions came to me personally. People came to me and said, coach, all those questions we've been asking you, you know, so you're bringing us, you know, you're bringing us the governor to come and answer. I said, yes. So the first thing that someone had put out, please share your questions in the comment section. The first thing that someone had put out to me, posed to me as a question was, how come you have a relationship with your husband? That's how she put it to me, with your husband, and it's you could see that genuinely is a good relationship. How were you able to build this? That was our question. I would like you to answer, because I'm sure she's also listening to me here.
Okay, well, let me start by saying that marriage is truly a beautiful thing. Marriage was instituted by God, and everything that God made is good. And so marriage is a beautiful thing, really. I know we have a lot of stories out there of failed marriages, of things going wrong in marriages. But the truth of the matter is that there are actually good marriages out there, very many of them. And that's the reason why, you know, that's one of the things that pushes me to always, you know, do more in that sphere. Now, for the question of how come we have such a relationship, I would say friendship. Friendship. You see, you need to learn to become friends with your spouse. I mean, if you were not friends before you got married, then as you get married, you need to now build that friendship. And friendship is built. Just like you have friends who you've built relationships with over the years, probably from primary school, some from high school, some from the university. You've built those relationships. Those things that you use to build those relationships, you need to also adapt some of them into your marriage and also build a relationship with your spouse. So you need to build friendship. That's the way, that's the best way to continually improve the relationship in your marriage. So that will be my short answer to that question.
Thank you so much, sir. So I said that this is going to be a Q&A. While I moderate, you send in your questions, and then the governor answers us, right, on what it is that is most appropriate. So while we wait for your questions to come in, I'm going to be reading the ones that I have here already. Okay. So recently, sir, I started writing and chronicling my motherhood journey. And I realized that there was a lot of disconnect with what I shared to people and what it is that people have experienced, especially on the role that men need to play when it comes to being in the lives, in quotes, in their family life, right? And we realized that there was a disconnect. Is there a fundamental problem with how men are raised in our society? Is there something that men have learned that need to be unlearned? Because, for instance, I remember sharing in that chronicle that I didn't have to cook in 9 months. Somebody reached out to me and said, "How did you do it?" You know, a lot of people actually felt that I wrote those things. Somebody said it was fictitious, you know, and it made me laugh. And the person said, "How could you have been pregnant and did nothing? Right? Really? Is it no man in Nigeria actually does that?" that was the comment. Do you think there is a wrong narrative in our circle? All right, or do you think, what is it exactly? All right, it's what is it exactly? Do you think the challenge is?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Truly, there is actually some wrong narrative out there. And these are some of the things that we need to correct as time goes by. You see, the role of the husband and the wife together in marriage are both important in the lives of their children. You need to be involved in your family and everything that has to do with your family. This includes relationship, of course, with your spouse as a man, and also includes relationship with your children and even raising your children. There's this narrative that the children are raised by a woman. Yes, truly, children are always closer to their mothers when they are growing up. But then the father has a very, very important role to play. And because this role is usually not played, you find out that the father is just there being the provider and not having any emotional connect with his children or how they are raised. And eventually, when the children grow up, you see, that same relationship you sold to them is what they're going to sell to you back. And so you have fathers who are being abandoned, ignored, not taken seriously as the children grow up. So yes, this actually comes from upbringing, the way we are brought up, especially here in the African culture, even though it wasn't originally so. Okay, so a lot of things have happened. We've had evolution of culture, where now it's seen as if the man doesn't really have a role to play, and the man's role is just to come provide for the family. So yes, there is actually a wrong narrative going out there. And this is something that the men need to change. You need to be involved. You need to be involved every step of everything that is happening in your family, including raising your kids.
Thank you so much. There's a question right on the screen. How do you keep your spark in your marriage and being a mother? Is that supposed to be for me? Or do you want to ask the governor this question? I would allow you to finish that question, but let me even let the governor answer. How do you keep your spark in your marriage, sir? Please answer them. I guess that should be great.
Okay, yes. I get a lot of this. And a lot of people say, after like 2-3 years of getting married, they say the marriage is getting boring. There's no life. It's no more interesting and all that. And you see, let me tell you something about marriage. Marriage, the outcome of your marriage is, will I say, directly proportional to the amount of work you put into it. You need to learn that things don't just happen on their own in marriage. People get married and just feel that everything will just be a roller coaster, and rolling on. No, it doesn't work that way. You need to actually put in a lot of work. And so putting in your spark in marriage, there are a lot of things that you can do. The first of the things that you need to do is to learn to speak to yourself. You must learn to speak to yourself. This is something that has helped me so much in life. And by speaking to yourself, I mean you must reach a stage where you can sit yourself down when you see that something is going wrong and ask yourself some genuine questions and start looking for genuine answers. When you do this, you start dissolving the problems you have. Now, recently, I just launched an ebook called 20 Fun Things to Do with Your Spouse in Marriage. Now, these things look, when you go through that book, you find out that these things look so simple. But truly, those simple things are the things that are missing in our marriage. So, yes, being a mother is a lot of work. I don't take it away from every mother that is listening to me now. I adore you guys. You people do things that men can never do. But you need to recognize that being a mother is just one part. You need to also remember that you are a wife. And so you have situations where people forget those little things that you need to do. Let me give you an instance. For example, one of those things in that book, 20 Fun Things to Do with Your Spouse, is having a late night, staying all night with your spouse and just gisting, having fun, playing games, watching movies, and all that. Now, as little as that looks, that alone can bring up a spark in your marriage. And if you do things like this often, once in a while, you find out that your marriage keeps renewing itself and renewing itself. So you need to learn that those little things, those little things you are doing during courtship, when you are dating, you need to keep them going. Dating in marriage, for instance, is very, very important. A lot of people shelve it, and don't do that. So there are so many things you can do. I mean, you should get that book, 20 Fun Things to Do in Marriage. It'll help to answer this question. Yes.
All right, I'm going to share the link if you want to get all the books that the governor has on marriage. I'm going to share a link for you, pin it, so that you'll be able to get it. But let's keep going with the question. We have a next one. That says, please, can you share with us in details practical ways of addressing conflict in marriage? Sir, you know that this is a big deal.
Yes. Incidentally, I have a course coming up on the 30th of this month. And this course, we run it from time to time in the Marriage Seal Academy. And it's called Resolving Conflicts in Marriage. Let me start by saying that conflict necessarily doesn't have to be bad. Actually, conflicts are just a disagreement in ideology or the way you see things or opinions. But it mustn't turn into a fight. Now, if you have the skills to manage it, then you will eventually find out that a lot of conflicts will actually do you good because it will bring out things that hitherto probably had been hidden. Now, let me give you an example of a practical way of addressing conflicts in marriage. One thing you must do when addressing conflicts in marriage is not to bring in things that are past. So say you have a conflict right now. Let me use an example. There's 20,000 naira in the family account and you want to use it, the husband, wants to use it to repair the car. And the wife wants to use it to buy what? Wants to use it to buy detergent in the house and cleaning things in the house. So already that's a conflict of interests. Now, both things are very important, yes, but you see, one has to go for the other because you only have limited funds. So now a conflict has started. Now, while that conflict is going on, it is wrong for you to now start bringing things like, well, the other time you bought so much detergent in the house and everything got wasted. That's how you are always wasting detergent in the house. So there's no need to buy detergent anymore. Now, you've brought something that is far away from the immediate challenge that you have. So that is a practical way, is to avoid doing that. Face that particular challenge per time and deal with it. Of course, another thing you must learn to do is never to sweep things under the carpet. So if you have issues, Even if you can't resolve it because both heads are hot at the moment, then you must look for a time to eventually go back to that issue and have it resolved. So there's so many things in resolving conflicts in marriage. That course will also attend to a lot of these things. Yeah.
All right. There's another hot question. So, sir, you know that this is one of those questions that whenever it comes up, it always causes so much issues. I'm sure you can see the question on the screen. Jamila
Yeah,
wants to know, how do you manage finances in marriage? We get this question all the time. And
yeah.
I would let you wade in, sir.
Okay, I like this question because this is in my field of specialty. I always say that there are three major issues in marriage. If you have a hang of these issues and know how to manage these issues, you are going to have, your marriage on that roller coaster that I said you may think that your marriage is not. These three issues are communication, finance, and sex. Now, finance is part of it, as you have seen. A lot of marriages are suffering now because of finance. How do you manage finances in marriage? The first thing you must understand about finances in marriage is that you both need to be open. And when I say open, I mean completely open about finances. A situation where the man does not let the wife know the amount of money or the income that he gets, or the wife does not let the husband know the income he gets, that is already digging a hole for challenges in your finances in marriage. You must be open to each other and let each other know what it is that comes in. That way, there's no assumption. Let me give you an example. I have a salary account and I have a card, two cards that I got for the account. One is for me and the other one is for my wife. Now, because she has unfettered access to the account, there's no way she's going to be asking me anything that is bigger than what I have. That reduces the pressure on me automatically. So she would never ask me for something that she knows. She already sees what I have. So you see, managing finance in marriage, the first thing is to be open about your finances. Completely open. Put it on the table. Of course, the next thing I will talk about is that every marriage, every home must run on a budget. And I'm not talking about a budget that is just out of your head. I'm talking about a budget that is written down. A budget that captures every single expense item that you have in the house, including toothpick, including toothbrush, including soap, including slippers, including every little thing that you would want to take for granted. That way, when money comes, it's coming to meet something that it's, a problem is supposed to solve. Not the other way around, that money is coming and that's when you just start thinking of what to use the money for. You will always have issues in finance. So let me leave it there. There's so much about finance in marriage. I have a course, Communication, Finance, and Sex. If you'd want more, you can also go on our online store and take that course. There's a lot in finance, and like I said, that's one of the cardinal issues in marriage. If you can get it right, every other thing will fall in place. Wendy, are you there? Okay, I don't know if anybody can hear me. It looks like Wendy is frozen. If you can hear me, maybe I should just go on talking about finance. Let me just go on until she comes back. So, like I said, finance, the first thing you need to know is that it needs to be completely open. Bring everything to the table. Now, truly, the way God created it is that the man is the head of the home and the man is the provider. The man is the one who is supposed to provide for the home. And so when men come to ask me that question, who is supposed to provide for the home? I just tell them, you are supposed to provide for the home. It is your responsibility. You are the one who went to the woman's father to say, I want to take your daughter and I'm going to be able to take care of her the way you took care of her and even better. So, of course, automatically you have assumed that responsibility. Now, but I always now tell the woman that even though it's the responsibility of the man, don't you think that if you put your own finances on the table also, your home will actually be better? There's something I teach. I teach about the family finance empire. If you really want to grow an empire, you want to build an empire, then the two of you need to work hand in hand. Okay, so let me leave it there at I think Wendy is back now. So Wendy, go ahead.
I'm just wondering why we're using the same network and I'm the one that is booted out. How did that happen? All right, that's okay. Thank you so much, sir. Before you go on to the next question that is on the screen, someone said that the particular question was for the both of us. How do you ensure? I think that was Jamila talking about how we ensure that our marriage keeps being fun and all of that. We intentionally work the marriage. So one of the things that I learned from my husband over the years is to put in work. So when people come, I heard from my pastor severally, I've heard him say severally that there are things that don't answer to prayers. Marriage is one of them. So if you pray, it's good to pray, but beyond all of that, you need to work. So we just realized that there is more. Being a mother, being a wife, being on all of that, there's a balance. So in the year, for instance, we have times where we take off and all of that. We create time for ourselves. It's something that we have intentionally built over the years, and many times we also work together. Maybe that has also helped us as well. I don't know if there's more that you need from me, but this is not about me, so I'm going to stop. So what do you do when it's one party willing or ready to build relationship in the marriage? What do you do, sir?
Okay, I'm assuming that the question that is being asked here is one party is doing a lot more when it concerns building the relationship, while the other party is not really so keen or interested in doing that. Now, you see, I teach that in marriage there is something called marketing. Marketing. So you must learn to market what it is that you have gained to your spouse. Now, for instance, we may have some spouses watching right now, and maybe it's just one spouse, maybe it's just the husband that is watching, or it's the wife that is watching. Probably the more interested spouse is the one that is watching. Now, you'd have gained something from here. You can't force it on your spouse. If you try to do that, you're going to find a brick wall. You're going to need to market it to your spouse. And marketing is all about selling something that somebody does not really know about to the person. It's different from sales. If you are selling, for instance, if we just say sales, you want to sell Omo. Everybody knows Omo, even if the name is called Ariel or is called what are the names. But once you say you are selling detergent, you don't need to announce it. Anybody who needs detergent will buy. Now, that's different from if you say you are selling an equipment for radiology. You need to market it to the people who don't probably know what it's used for, but eventually you're going to be able to sell it to them. So for the spouse who is more interested, who is more intentional, who is doing more work about building the relationship, you need to learn to market what you are learning subtly to your spouse. Now, take for instance a woman who has learned so much about building relationships in marriage and wants to tell the spouse that you need to know these things, you need to hear these things. And she just goes and says, look, I'm doing so much in this marriage. You're not doing enough. You need to go for classes. The man automatically will just, the wall will just build up. I teach ego. I teach people, couples, that a man has ego. Yes, I know somebody out there is going to be saying a woman has ego too. Yeah, but the ego in a man is larger than that in a woman. And if you don't recognize that, you will always hit a brick wall when you are trying to get a man's attention to something. Because automatically the ego in him will rise, even without him knowing that that is what is happening, and he will put a brick wall in front of him. So you need to know how to massage the ego. I don't know, Wendy, I think I need to organize a class for women for them to learn how to massage the ego of a man. That's a skill that if you learn it, I mean, you should learn from Wendy. She does it a lot to me. If you learn that skill, there's nothing that you want your husband to do that you will not get him to do. Okay, so I mean, back to the question. So bottom line is that you need to learn to market to your spouse. He or she may not be at that level of knowledge that you are, or enlightenment that you are. You need to subtly get him to get interested in it. So let me leave it there.
Okay, I like the marketing part. You know, when I was sharing about the book, the Becoming My Motherhood Journey book that we're about to launch, I remember saying in that story that my husband marketed his God to me. The God that he knew, and at the level of faith that he had, was not at the level of faith I had. And hey, the truth is that it could have actually caused a lot of rift. Remember, I'm coming from a medical background where I knew so much, right, about medicine. And then I know science and all of that. And hey, I am smart. So hey, so you know. And then someone comes to tell me that these things can be done in another way. No, there's actually a faith. You can actually use faith as a currency. One of the things I noticed, so when he says, I actually learned it from him. One of the things I noticed that he did in that period was to sell it, market it. He was not letting me, but he was just marketing it subtly till it got into my head. And it's the same thing I say about parenting, that you need to sell your values, market your values to your children. If you can, then you will actually be able to win their hearts. If he had forced me, trust me, nothing would have changed. I would have been where I am. I would have just said, oh, well, this man that I married, I just think that, oh, you just have faith and two boys just turns to a girl and a boy who does that. All right. But he was able to market it to me. Then I bought it. He marketed it. Then he sold it. Then I bought it. All right. So I think it's actually a very great skill. Thank you so much for that. Hi, Millicent. I can see my team from Smart Office all the way watching. All right. So we have a question here, sir. How do you deal with a spouse that takes little things to heart, even when it's a joke? Chayo.
Okay. So it's very possible that spouse is dealing with something. Now, a lot of us are dealing with things, and I mean, this is Wendy's specialty. A lot of us have childhood traumas. A lot of us have backgrounds that we are coming from, that a lot of things have happened to us in the past. And because of this, we're always on the edge. So for people like that are always on the edge, that take little things to heart, even when it's a joke, they need to get help. That's just the truth of the matter. They need to get help. A lot of people don't know that they are suffering from things from their childhood. A lot of people don't know they're suffering from hurts. And you know, when they have done a lot in this area, you need to get write-ups on this and the courses on this. And so if that is how your spouse is, then you need to start asking him or her some questions. Start finding out what happened when he or she was young. Did he have an abusive upbringing? Did something happen when he was young that he had to take responsibility? quicker than he should. Maybe he was still a child and he lost parents. Maybe he was orphaned, So everything for her is serious. Imagine a woman who lost both parents and learned to fend for herself from probably when she was 9 years old, and grew up that way. She may take life a little too seriously, and so everything is serious for her. So you see, you need to learn to talk to your spouse when you notice something. Communication. Remember what I said: communication, finance, and sex. Very important. And the first is communication. So when you notice things like this, come to a point of empathy for the person, because the person may just be doing that because the person is suffering from something from childhood. So come to a point of empathy and see how you can gradually start finding out the story. And if you find out that truly this person had a rough upbringing, then you need to now start looking for help. And there's a lot of help. Help can come from counselors like us, like Wendy. If it's more severe, then the person may need a therapist. If it's even more severe, then the person may need a psychologist, and so on and so forth. So there's help out there. Please don't get too angry with your spouse if your spouse is that way. Please be empathic. You never know. If you listen well and you communicate, you may just find out that your spouse is suffering from something from way back. Yes.
So how do you handle a depressive spouse?
Okay, I'm guessing what you mean by that as a depressive spouse is a spouse that always makes you depressed. That's what I get from that. So the spouse, even when you are excited, the spouse comes to pour rain on your parade. Okay, so that spouse also needs help, truly. Yeah. If that's what you are saying, that spouse needs help. You would need to communicate. When I say this communication, to find out what you see, I run premarital counseling classes. Okay, it's a 5-module course for pre-weds. So they come to me and I run it. And part of what I teach them is that before you get married, the two of you need to sit down and talk about your past. Take some time. You see, courtship is not all about ice cream and going to the movies. And no, it's a lot about communication. Set out time that, the two of you will sit down and talk about what has happened to you in the past. Okay. When this happens, you bring up some things and you're able to deal with those things even before you get into marriage. And then that way, things like this don't come up. So for that question, for a depressive spouse, if I understand what you mean, that spouse probably also needs help. You need to communicate with that spouse and find out why is the spouse like that. Okay? That's for that.
All right. Somebody said, please teach us effective marketing skills. Go to class. Okay. Please organize the class. When you come and teach me, oh my goodness. Okay, I'm looking for the questions and coach, we will meet in the yard though. Oh my goodness. Okay. That's it's like people are really interested in this class of massaging ego.
Yeah, it's something that we're planning towards in the Marriage Seal Academy. We'll organize it. Let me say something about this massaging ego. It may sound very funny, but just this little thing has saved many marriages. A lot of this has saved a lot of marriages. And women who understand how to massage the egos of their husband. I was listening to Pastor Funke the other day, and she was talking about how she treats her husband. She treats her husband like a king, and he in return treats her like a queen. The two need to understand this. We need to learn that we need to start treating ourselves as kings and queens. She was talking about she made an analogy, and it was so apt. I mean, I was so excited listening. I was like, yes, this is what I tell people. And she said, your husband, you serve your husband food, and you serve him with any kind of plate, any kind of spoon. She said it was very funny. She said you put the rice and you put the stew and you just put the plantain, everything on top of each other, and you serve. But that when you have guests, you bring out the chinaware, you set the table, it's all luxury. Why won't you do that for your husband? If you do that for him, you're going to see the results. So this class is going to happen. It's going to happen, and we'll communicate it. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure that class will be very valuable. How do you manage a spouse that has anger problems? Gets irritated easily.
Okay, so even though it's going to sound like the same thing, people who have anger problems actually need some level of therapy. But I also want to say this from experience. Some things trigger anger. From experience, I found out that some things trigger anger both in the husband and in the wife. If you can find out what triggers the anger, I'll give you a very good example. A dirty home, a disorganized home is enough to trigger anger. So somebody is coming back from work, he or she, as the case may be, has had a long day, and you come back home and your home is upside down. And the man is shouting or the woman is shouting, and you're wondering, he's shouting because somebody just did something. The shout is not from there, it's from somewhere. So you need to deal with it, those triggers. You need to find out what is it that happens when this woman gets angry. What do I do that makes it, remember what I said? Learn to speak to yourself. Sit yourself down and ask yourself, what is it that I do exactly that always causes this anger to come out? When you do this, then try and adjust it and see. If that doesn't work, then we now need to, we need that other side where we say the person actually needs help. But truly, from experience, like I tell you, a lot of the time, there are triggers out there that trigger anger. So find out what the trigger is, and the anger will go away.
Thank you so much, sir. I can see quite a number of comments coming in. Hi, Ifnaya. Ifnaya is our foster daughter. Hello from Abuja. All right, good to have you here. So you've been wondering, yes, that's our foster daughter right there on the screen. She's no longer in the house. She's married. We are glad. All right. So we have another question here. How do I bring up issues with our finances with my spouse without turning it into a quarrel? Sir, you know that this topic is very controversial. It looks okay here, but the narrative that have been sold as you're going into that man's house. Don't show him everything you have. If you do, when the chips are down, you have nothing. Then they tell the man, as you're going there, don't go and tell your wife everything. No, that nobody tells the wife everything. Sometimes when I hear those conversations, I don't even know how to put mouth in it. And when you actually even say things, people say things like, you're pretending. Are you trying to tell me that your husband knows everything that you do? It's a bit, it's a bit difficult. And sincerely, let me be frank with you. I also understand where these people are coming from. Both of us do not come from families like that, but I understand that many Nigerian homes operate in that way. I know that your parents do not have any, there's no separation, it's the same thing. But many Nigerian homes, that's how it operates. The wife wants to just do her thing, keep her thing. And that's even the advice that is out there. Really. So please tell us what we can do.
Okay, all right. Now this is a communication issue. And that's why I had said of communication, finance, and sex, the chief of them is communication. I'm sure it's not only finances that you have issues with communication. The person who is asking this question, you would have issues with other things. So you would need to improve your communication. You cannot, remember what I said about ego? You cannot burst into a man and tell the man, hey, I want to know how much your salary is today. It will bring quarrel now. You just set a stage for quarrel. Or you want to say, no, this money that comes into this house, we must decide together how it is spent. That is not the way to communicate. So I will advise you that you need to take the communication class. You need to take it. You need to understand a lot of things. Communication is very wide. That is one of the things in marriage that causes too much issues. And if you have it right, you will have your finances right. You will have your sex life right if you can communicate. So how to bring up issues is a matter of how do you communicate with your spouse. Learn to communicate. Let me give you a tip. Right timing. Very, very important. Tone of voice. Very, very important. I leave it at that. So when you bring up these topics, is it when there is a financial issue that you bring it up, or you actually bring it up when everything is cool? You should know when your spouse is gentle and cool and having a nice time. That's part of that massaging the ego. And you know, there are ways to bring up questions and times to bring up questions and how to bring up questions. All this you will learn when you learn how to communicate. You need to be an efficient and effective communicator in marriage. If you get this right, oh, every other thing will fall under it.
Thank you so much, sir. And I have an interesting comment here. And you know, a few days ago, you and I had a conversation on what happened in my friends. But I had a conversation with my friends, and you know, we were talking about it. And I was telling my friends how over the years you see that I'm not going to listen to something that you have to say. That you go to pray about it and ask God to let either our pastor say it on the altar or just the Holy Spirit minister to me about it, instead of just forcing your way through. And that has worked like magic. And I had that conversation with you, and I said to you, I think that men do not even know that their wives need to be prayed for to submit as well. So it's also a big deal. So when I saw this comment, I smiled. Ijoma says that I hope this massaging ego goes both ways. But it's a pity it's mostly women that take time to listen to all of this. And you know, so it goes down to what we're talking about. The world tells us, oh, you just need to pray for your husband. They don't tell the husband, you need to pray for your wife. It's a narrative that we need the marriage to actually also push, really. But I would let you also speak to this, sir.
Yeah, let me just say something little about this comment. You see, the ego in man, like I explained before, is larger than that in women. Just the same way that the emotional state of a woman is much more than that of a man. So yeah, unfortunately, unfortunately, the questions that came had something to do with ego. But let me shift so that it looks balanced both ways. Let me shift a little, because men also need to recognize that women need emotions. They need to be cared for emotionally. Now, there are two cardinal rules in marriage. And I tell you, these two cardinal rules, I told you marriage is an institution that was ordained by God, created by God. So if you take God out of marriage, I'm sorry, you are going to have issues. So let's go back to the initiator. And there are two rules he gave in marriage. Very simple. Husbands, love your wives. Wives, submit to your husbands. This part of a husband loving the wife, that's where I want to connect to what you have just said. Part of loving your wife is actually praying for your wife. As a man, you are the priest in the house. Nobody is going to do it for you. When I see men that the wives are the ones who control the prayer in the house, who are the spiritual heads of the house, I see disaster looming. As a man, you are the spiritual head of the house. When my wife was pregnant, for 9 months, almost every night, I used to wake up to pray for her. And I have continued this for even my children and my wife still. From time to time, I go to them in the night and pray. They don't even know I'm praying for them because I see it as a responsibility for me. So if you truly love your wife, you will pray for your wife. If you truly love your wife, you will give to your wife. Love is shown, no, is shown. You need to show the love that you have. Let me not turn this into another class. I know it's a question and answer session, so I'll try to make my answers as short as possible. There's so much to say. There's so much to learn. I just wish people will open up their hearts to be ready to learn. This learning is a lifelong thing. It doesn't end. I am still learning. I still do courses. I still read books. All of us have a lot to learn. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. The questions are bombarding. I look at my screen. I'm seeing some questions on WhatsApp. I'm seeing some questions on YouTube and all of that. It means that this is a big deal. By the way, if you're a parent in the inner circle, we're going to be reading Building Your Marriage Plan as one of our books of the year. And in that month, the governor is going to be giving us a free class. Yes, don't worry. I will pay for it for you in the bedroom. You know what I mean? So some of the parents in the inner circle, shout out to you guys. So you guys are going to have a free class from me. I will pay for it, fully paid for. Then he will just appear. Don't worry, I have the power. So if you have more questions, yes, we're going to get there. Trust me, the best is reserved for the parents in the inner circle. You have more questions? Let's take in more questions. We still have about 30 minutes. How do you deal with lack of trust for your spouse, from a spouse? From a spouse.
Okay, so if I understand that question, it means your spouse does not trust you. How do you deal with a spouse that does not trust you? Okay, so one of the things that causes trust is past events. There may have been things that have happened in the past that have watered down the trust. If things like that have happened in the past, then maybe you would need to visit it and deal with it once and for all and give assurances. Let me give you an instance. Say, for instance, a man has cheated on his wife before. And by the way, for the men who are listening here and even the women, there is no excuse for cheating. None, no excuse whatsoever. Yes, when things like this come to me, I evaluate and see what led to the cheating, but it's not an excuse. So I just want to drop that there. Now, say a man has cheated once, and truly, that was the only time he cheated. I tell you, it's something that is going to be very difficult for the wife to trust the man completely again. It's going to be a very difficult thing. In fact, it will take the grace of God for the woman. But for the husband, how you can help to do this is to ensure that you do not do anything that even looks like cheating. You need to be able to build back that trust again. So for you who are not being trusted, I don't know, I'm just saying, it's most likely that there is something that happened in the past that is causing that. You may want to go and revisit that. Bring it back up. If it has been swept under the carpet, maybe it wasn't well dealt with. Bring it back up, put it on the table, look for a nice time to have that discussion and discuss it and give assurances. You see, assumption that your spouse understands that that was a mistake is a very wrong assumption. Have that conversation with your spouse to say, this thing that happened, was it trust about money or anything? This thing that happened, can we discuss it? And let me assure you that I've turned a new leaf. And so it all has to do with dealing with past issues and giving assurances, not by assumption. So let me leave that there.
All right, like they say, assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. Thank you, sir. We have the next question. How do you a spouse that keeps malice for days and finds it difficult to say sorry? Aha.
Yeah, this reminds me of myself. You know, like I said, marriage is built, marriage is work. We've been married now for 12 years and counting. It started from somewhere. The only difference is that we already had the knowledge of how to take care of issues and challenges when they come. And I would want to advise everybody, please get a copy of the book, Building Your Marriage Plan. A lot of things are in there that will help you. It's for both pre-weds and even married couples. Because if you don't have a plan, the bottom line is that you need that book. Now, malice is something usually that is learned. It's something that the person find out that spouse has been doing that over the years, not to everybody. He or she has used that as a coping mechanism. So maybe he or she gets angry, and instead of outbursting, he or she keeps it within and just decides, I'm just going to be upset. Now, when we first got married, I used to get upset, and because I wouldn't want to shout or I wouldn't want to react, I just keep malice. And I could keep malice for 3 days, and I could keep malice. But you know what? We worked it out. We were able to discuss it. We were able to talk about it. We were able to bring it on the table. And my wife said, look, this keeping malice thing, I don't really like it. Can we talk about why do you keep malice? And I was able to tell her, well, I keep malice because when I'm angry, I'm too angry and I wouldn't want to shout or do anything irrational. And we came to a conclusion that, okay, when you are angry, can you call me and tell me, that's my wife now, when you're angry, can you call me and tell me that you are angry and tell me the reason why, and we'll resolve it so that we don't have to keep malice. And that was how we were able to resolve that malice issue. So you need to talk about it. You need to bring it to the table and discuss it. Now, whenever I say bring things to the table and discuss it, please don't come with some air of arrogance on the table. You need to be subtle about it. Even if you are the one who is hurting, you need to be gentle about it. Every time you bring it as a confrontation, you're going to meet a brick wall because everybody feels that he or she knows better. Okay, so let me leave that there.
All right, sir. So we have another question here. It says, what if a partner does not agree to talk about issues each time you want to bring it up? So it follows this particular, one you answered now. What if a partner does not agree to talk about issues? So each time you want to discuss issues, they always end up in fight and anger.
If you check it out, approach most likely is the problem. You see, I've been doing this for quite a while, and people come to me every single day with issues. I do counseling almost every single day. People book for sessions, and what I always find out is the manner of approach. The manner of approach. So you say you are talking about an issue, and you're not talking about it, you are fighting about it. There's a difference between talking about it and fighting about it. And for many people out there, I'm not talking just to this person who is asking this question, it's a general thing. For many people out there, check it. That conversation you claim to have, was it actually a conversation or was it a fight? Was it a shouting bout? Find out. So if it happens like that, you will never get it out of your partner, out of your spouse. There will always be fight. But if you find the appropriate time and you use the appropriate tone and you're able to address the issues on ground, not bringing all kinds of issues to the table at the same time, you are going to be able to make progress. I've worked with a lot of people on this kind of things, and this is usually 90% of the time is approach. 90% of the time.
Thank you, sir. What can a spouse do if there's a need for communication class, but the other spouse isn't bothered about a lot of things? I think you've answered a bit of that question.
Yeah, I've answered it. I get this a lot. A lot of the times when people book counseling sessions with me, I can say 70% of the time, it is just one spouse who comes first, and the other spouse is usually not willing. But what I do when I have a session with you is I teach you how to market it to the other spouse. So you need to do it. Unfortunately, a lot of people are too angry or too hot to even, approach this thing in an approachable manner. So part of what I do is to teach you how to market it to your spouse so that you get her interested or you get him interested. You need to first get the person interested in it before the person wants to even take any class or any course or any session.
All right. Thank you, sir. I want to get to the next question, which is actually very interesting. He said, the issue with being open with your finances is a bit tricky. My husband is always spending widely at my own expense, and it will boomerang on me. I struggle with this a lot.
Yeah, okay. So your husband needs finance classes. A lot of people, look, let me tell you the truth of the matter. A lot of people have problems with finance. And trust me, that's my line. So I know this. It's not about making money, really. People are poor not because they don't make money. People are poor because they don't know how to manage money. So if you have a husband who spends wildly, then you need to convince your husband to actually come and learn how to manage finances. That's a very dangerous thing, really. You cannot build a family finance empire with wasteful spending. That's what I'll call what you have just described, wasteful spending. So your husband just needs to learn, and you need to be the one. Like I said, if your husband is not willing and you're the first person to come and learn it and learn how to sell it, how to market it. And then you'd find out that, these things will work out eventually.
Okay, sir, we're going to keep the answers to at least less than a minute per time. Thank you, because we're currently running out of time. And I would like to release you. I know your children are somewhere eyeing me right now for having their father right here in this session. How do I make Oga foot bills? I mean, without leaving everything to me.
How did it start?
Yeah.
How did it start? How did that relationship start? A lot of the times, what we see in relationships, we saw them at the beginning. Was this at the beginning of the relationship? If it was, then it's a fundamental problem, which means it's a problem that would need some serious work on. So this one doesn't have a general answer. You need to probably come back office to talk to me, and we'll know the basis of this, and then we can forge a way forward.
All right, thank you. So let me find where it's just CIP parent trying to harass me for saying that I'll make payment in the bedroom. Yes, that's what I said. Am I afraid to say it?
You're married.
All right. Yes. So someone says that malice is coping mechanism for people. I don't know if that is a question, is a statement. Not to adverse or say words that cannot be retrieved. Words spoken out of anger can destroy the heart. We have to be gentle about the challenges we face. Well, I think that is a comment. I don't know what is that.
I actually mentioned that malice is actually a coping mechanism for people.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Doesn't make it right anyway. Doesn't make it right, but that's the fact.
All right, thank you. It's a strategy to help your spouse to communicate effectively. So the talk won't always come from one side. This is because communication is, yes, that's the question.
Okay. So one way of doing this is to find out from your spouse, or find out what is your spouse interested in. Let me give you an example. This usually happens with men. Men are the ones who are to blame for this. Men are the ones who don't always communicate. The women are always communicating. The men are the ones. And if you're a man here, please, you need to improve your communication. But if you're having that problem and your husband, for instance, is not communicating, find out, what does he like talking about? What does he talk to his friends about? Let me give you an example. Many men love football. They can talk endlessly about football. If you are finding it difficult to penetrate your husband in communication, then go and learn football and start first with what it is he likes listening to. When you start with that, he gets excited talking to you. And then you can now start introducing your own things while you people have that discussion. Same thing happens the other way around, even though, like I said, it's mostly the men who are to blame for this. But the same thing, if your wife is the one who doesn't communicate well, who doesn't like talking, then find out, what does she talk to her friends about? What does she like talking about? And you learn that thing and have one or two things to say about that. And you eventually get the person talking. All right.
Okay, there was a question that came to my chat. The person couldn't type. He said, is there an ideal age between husband and wife? What is the age difference? Now, this is a personal question thrown at you. What is the age between you and your wife? Yes. And then she's asking for some helpful tips to keep the spark in marriage. I think you've answered that question already. And you have a book called Having Fun in Marriage. I remember, let me talk a bit about that book. I remember my friend Etima had called me and said, you and your husband are having fun in marriage and you did not call me. I said, she said, oh, I saw the book, Having Fun in Marriage. And I was like, all this fun just by the both of you. So you can go and get that book to answer that question. Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so that question had many parts. About the part of age, I won't want to fix it to any age, but yeah, I can tell you that where the age difference is actually large, and when I say large, I'm talking about anything more than 10 years, you would usually have some communication issues. And this is quite natural because you are of two different, I would want to call them generations. For instance, you got married, you are 22, and your husband was not just 32, maybe he was already 45. Now, a 22-year-old person, lady, and a 44-year-old, 45-year-old man, the things you care about are totally different. So there are going to be issues. Not that they cannot be managed, they can be managed. The older person can always, learn how to be younger, and the younger person can also learn how to mature quickly. So there's no specific age, but I would say that once you are having up to 10 years difference, you should expect that there will be a generational difference. And so the two of you will have different things that you are thinking about. So, yeah.
All right, sir. We're going to take one or two more questions as we begin to round up. If you know, by 8:15, we will be out of here latest. We like to keep to time. That 15 minutes was just to have us the extras and all of that and all of that. Someone said, what is the age difference between you and I? You didn't answer that part. Were you dodging?
Oh, the age difference between, I'm trying to calculate now. Is it 6 years?
It's 6 years.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So how do you manage a spouse that keeps secrets? Communication again.
Oh, wow. Keeping secrets is a very dangerous thing. Very, very dangerous. Wow. That's a very, very dangerous thing. And the truth of the matter is that if your spouse keeps secret, it may be that that's the way the person was brought up. It may also be that the person doesn't trust you. So what have you done with the secrets that she has given you before? Did she hear it from somebody else? So that trust was broken. So you need to get your spouse to be able to communicate. And you see that thing I said right at the beginning, friendship. You need to build friendship. with your spouse, such that secrets are no longer secrets between the two of you. Um, Building friendship, you'll find a lot about that, how to build your friendship in the book, Building Your Marriage Plan. I have a copy here. Building this is what the book looks like, Building Your Marriage Plan. There's a whole chapter on friendship there, so you should get the book and build. So if you have good friendships, it will reduce that keeping of secrets. But it's a very, very dangerous thing, and I'm speaking to both husband and wife. If you keep secrets from each other, please, you need to repent. It's a dangerous thing, very dangerous. I don't have time to x-ray that right now. We're already starved of time. So let me leave it there.
All right. So let me see if we have more questions in the comment section as we begin to also wrap up. I hope you have also gotten value in this session. I can see lots and lots of comments. What we did was that we put the comments that have come before that have answered the questions. We just try to skip them because trust me, if we deal with all the questions, we might not be able to finish. So if you get to our YouTube channel, you will be able to actually get back to watch this conversation again. I love conversations a lot, and you can also get to our YouTube, our podcast, to listen to the podcast where we talked about our marriage in the past 12 years and all of that. But I would like you to talk a bit about the prayer journal that you wrote. I got the governor to write a book with me, to contribute. I like to say it's my book. Oh, please. To contribute to my book. And he agreed. And while we were building it, I built a prayer journal for mothers. And then built a journey, a working journey of motherhood. Because I realized a lot of people do not even know their motherhood story. So I decided, okay, I'm going to build a journal that will help you chronicle your motherhood story. Some people said they've forgotten and all of that. Such sweet story to forget. And so I got him to contribute to that book. I just wanted to talk a bit about it. Why do you think fathers also, as women are going to get that book, why do you think fathers should also get that book? And tell us a bit about the prayer journal that you also built alongside.
Okay, yeah, that book, Journey Through Motherhood, is in fact, it's going to be a blockbuster. There are a lot of things, that people don't tell you before you become a mother. And there might be a lot of things that mothers are going through now that book will really help you to reorganize yourself and refocus. So that's a book, it's a story, really. It's a story of our own journey. Let me say our journey as mothers, even though I'm a father. Yes, and I contributed in it, my own bit of it, watching my wife carrying our children, giving birth to them, taking care of them, we taking care of them together and all. So every man needs to also read that book. You need to understand there are some things that women go through. Oh, God bless women. Women are people that I never underestimate. The kind of things that women go through, men cannot go through half of it. I tell you, emotionally, physically, we can't. Women are just created in that way. And so that book is a very important book. If you read it as a man, as a husband, you will understand probably why your wife behaves in a particular way, and you'll be able to manage it better. Okay. Mm-hmm. Women really, really go through a lot, and we need to really hold them in high esteem. And then, of course, we have the prayer journal for men. Like I said, the man is a priest in the house. You are the priest in the house. And part of your priestly duties is to pray for yourself, for your spouse, for your children, for your generations unborn. I learned that from, our fathers in the faith, praying for our generations unborn, knowing that the things we do now will affect our generations that are coming up. I want to have generations that come up and remember me as their patriarch, who was able to, like Abraham, set some standards. And part of doing that is prayer. Every man must learn how to pray for himself, for his wife, for his children, and for his generation unborn. So that book that journal will help you, to journal your way through it and help you to actually, plan yourself for the whole year, how to pray, and, daily know how to pray. A lot of us, the world is such a busy place now for all the prayer journal, both for the mothers and for the fathers, where it's a busy world. So that will be a tool that will help us do that.
All right, so we are going to launch pre-order soon, and you'll be hearing from us how you will be able to get that book. That was my journey, and I thought that there are a lot of things that we go through as women that people never get to hear. All they tell you is you're going to be happy after you get married and have children, and everything will be perfect. But that's not true. There are times where you're going to have a roller coaster of emotions. Most of us here are mothers, and you can understand what I'm saying, right? And we want the younger generation. I tell you the truth. We wrote this because of our children, and we thought if our children should know this, the world should also know this as well. So it is 8:15. But before you go, I am a parent coach. So hey, there's no conversation that takes this away. Even if we go and talk about money, we'll land at the parenting part. I'm going to pose one last question to you. Do you think I have watched your dad over the years, and I don't think I've seen my mother-in-law pray more than a few times. For every time that my father-in-law steps into the home, he's going to be the one to raise his hand, and he's going to be the one to pray. So it's something that I've seen. I remember the day he was sharing a testimony how he ran fellowships in his house growing up, and he's seen his son, there are fellowships in his house as well. Do you think that there's a role that parenting play in this? Do you think that people who watch their fathers become priests in the home would naturally take up that role? Do you think it's something that has an effect? Does it have any effect at all?
Oh yeah, it has a great effect, and that is why, as a parent now that most of us are here, you must learn that every single thing you do is going to have an effect on your children. Your children are watching you. Your children will do exactly the same things that you do. So if you do negative things, they will do it and even do it better than you. If you do positive things, they will do it and do it better than you. So yes, the role of a parent is very, very important in the prayer life of a child when that child also becomes a parent. What we saw our parents do are the things that we will eventually do unconsciously. And so if your parents were not praying type, you'll probably not take prayer seriously unless by the intervention of God, like the way God, just arrests people directly, you will just naturally fall into the same attitude to prayer that you learned from your parents. So that's why it's so important that we now who are parents, you need to be conscious. Every single thing, you know what? Children are watching. Children are watching. In fact, from the age of 2, children have started watching you and mimicking you. They may not do it in front of you, but they will do it later on in life. People who are battering their wives right now, check it out. They had parents who are battering also. People who are cheating right now probably had parents who are cheating. Things that they're doing. People who are praying for their families right now probably had parents who are praying. So yes, you can never take the role of a parent out of what eventually the child will do. So I think that answers that question.
Thank you so much, sir. You have the Marriage Seal number, WhatsApp number right on my screen. You want to reach out? The Marriage Seal runs a group on WhatsApp. That's why their group is resident. You can join. There are a lot of conversations that go on in the Marriage Seal WhatsApp group. A lot of us are there. Sometimes, it's a roller coaster. Sometimes it's back and forth and a lot of learning. You want to actually get in there. But most importantly, we have pinned a post. That post is where you can see all the resources that the Marriage Seal has. The governor has written 2 books. Those books are available on Amazon. And that's Building Your Marriage Plan and Having Fun in Marriage. They are both available on Amazon, so you can buy and it will be sent to you, or you can just get into the seller store, or better still, hit them with a chat. I want to say thank you so much to my very first coach. A lot of people do not know that. And I want to say thank you to the audience. Today, I have seen my team from TIP, my team from Smart Office. I remember that so many years ago, we saw a lot of marriages that were messed up, and people glorified more messed up marriages than the ones that were doing well. And we realized that even people who had good marriages were bullied. And my husband and I sat down, had a lot of conversations on this, and we decided that we're going to help families understand that there is still hope in being able to build a marriage that works. So we actually used to be very private. We were one of those families that will do everything and you will never see it out there. But intentionally, we started to actually create a narrative for people to see a marriage that works. So this is just us giving back, just to tell you that marriages work and they can work on bliss. And we're not saying it fearfully. Our foster daughter is right here. She lived with us for so long. She knows that our marriage works. So we're not coming to come and tell you something that is not doable. We're actually sharing with you things that can happen. I was saying to you, you can learn. My husband and I have taken classes, communication classes. So he didn't just stop keeping Malice. That's the part he didn't tell you. He learned communication. So we both also learned communication. When it got tough, I learned. When it got tough, he learned. We were both two people who were willing to make sure that we had an outstanding marriage, and that was it. Nothing more. And you can also have the same kind of marriage. Trust me, all it needs is a change of knowledge. If you get knowledge, everything changes, right? I would even like to continue talking and talking and talking and talking. People tell me that, oh, marriage is not an achievement, but that's not true. For me, it was one of the greatest achievements in my life. So before you see the Wendy Ologe, it is marriage that have made me. So marriage can make you, can mar you, but you need to put in work to it. I'm going to allow the governor to give us his last words. But before that happens, I want to see in the comment section, minimum 5 fire emojis. We like fire emojis in TIP. So, hey, minimum 5 fire emojis in the comment section if you got value from this session. If you want us to bring the governor back again, I don't know how that is going to span. Let me also see your comment. But for the parents in the inner circle, hey, you got this. We got you. Don't worry about that. It's even going to be a deeper session. So maybe that ego session, I'm going to, you know what I promised you? I'm going to just pay for you in the bedroom and then bring him, and we'll have that. So don't worry, you got your coach here. All right, sir, last words.
Okay, it's been an interesting time. This is something I'm passionate about. I love talking about marriage. I love marriages working. I'm happy every time people come to me. I counsel them, they go back and they come back with results. I'm so excited when that happens. Last words. There's always something to sacrifice. If you want anything in life, and I mean anything, you must be ready to sacrifice something. If you want money, you sacrifice rest. If you want a blissful marriage, you sacrifice friends, for instance. There's always something to sacrifice. And in marriage, there are many things you will need to sacrifice to get that marriage that you want. The question is, what are you ready to sacrifice? Also, marriage is work, and not just any kind of work, it's hard work. The work you put into your marriage is the result you'll get from that marriage. So learn to work and learn how to work. The more you know, if you know better, you will do better. So thank you very much for this opportunity. It was good to be here.
Thank you so much, sir. We do not take your time for granted. The governor's birthday is on Sunday. We're going to be rolling out the drums. Yes. You know me. We're going to be rolling down the drums on Sunday. And hey, he has asked that it's going to be a family affair. All right. And I really enjoy you guys being here. But I'm going to leave you with an interesting word that I learned over the years. People say that marriage is not a bed of roses. But I say that marriage is the bed of roses. But that would only be the number of roses that you decide to put on the bed. Are you ready to pick the roses and put on your bed? Or you just want the roses to come? So your roses will be about how many you are able to pick and then put on that table, on that bed. Don't forget to share this video with family and friends. Tell them about this conversation. I enjoyed myself this evening. And hey, for those of you that are asking, the inner circle parents are the parents that run an annual program with us. And the ones in 2021 are enjoying the best. If you want to join us, send us a chat for 2022. Slots are going. And as soon as that is full, we shut it down. Also, if you're listening to me, remember that we're doing the 1K sex challenge. Sex, educate your child like a pro. Trust me, knowledge is a deal breaker. Don't forget to reach out to the Marriage Seal, get resources. Nothing works on its own. In the words of Bishop David Oyedepo, nothing works on its own except you work it. And anything, like he says, that requires God to do everything for you is an irresponsible thing. Thank you again, and do have a lovely evening. I need to go and have fun in marriage. Let me go and continue my dance that I didn't finish yesterday. Oh yeah, Oga, to the room. Thank you so much, sir, and God bless you.
Thank you.